Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WBENC, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book, Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to Women Who Own It podcast, brought to you by WBENC, the largest certifier of women-owned business. This show is for women business leaders, brought to you by Women Business Leaders. And I am your host, Allison Maslin. I'm the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to grow and scale their business. And Women Who Own It really is to give you, the listener, an easier road, bringing on some amazing guests to share their wisdom and their inspiration. Hopefully that you can glean some of that and apply it to your business right away. And today we have a phenomenal guest. I am so excited to have her. Dee Marshall is an international speaker, certified coach, leadership trainer, diversity consultant, and she is a published author. She is a CEO at Diverse and Engaged and recently named Top 50 People of Color list by RIO. She's also the top 25 influential Black women in business by the Network Journal and top 25 leading women entrepreneurs. Wow. She is a Wall Street alumna who trained million-dollar producers at top financial services firms. She's a contributor to Essence Magazine, Black Enterprise, the New York Times, and on and on and on. She is a fierce advocate for women of color in business, and Dee is a go-to for supplier development for Black women and currently serves as second vice chair on WBENC Forum Engagement Committee. Dee is co-host of Be Lifted Up radio show on Sirius XM and founder of Girlfriends Pray. Dee, welcome to Women Who Own It.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, so much that I want to dive into with you and learn from you. You have accomplished a lot in your business career. I mean, how did you go from working on Wall Street to becoming a CEO of multiple businesses?
Yeah, so I like to say first, Allison, I am an accidental entrepreneur. So That's the first part of the story of, I train million-dollar producers on Wall Street. I was there on September 11th. I worked in financial services, and I have my own story of down 33 flights of stairs at One New York Plaza. In fact, as we're talking about this, I'm just remembering I was interviewed by USA Today just a short time ago, because they're running a story on September 11th. But that was the beginning of me seeking meaning and purpose for my life. And so that was really the seed in the ground, so to speak, that got me here to, CEO at Diverse and Engaged. So that's sort of the short story. Wow. It really was about pursuing purpose.
Well, I mean, I can't even imagine what you went through in those moments. Oh my gosh. But I could see where something like that would really make you stare your life, in the face and say, okay, what am I doing here? What's my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what came up for you? I would imagine.
Yeah, that's exactly what came up. So certainly there was a long time in between, but yes, it was the day after that I really, these questions showed up for me, Allison. And it was, if you died yesterday, would you have any regrets? And so from that point forward, I decided about what I really wanted to do in life, who I wanted to be, and pursuing my purpose to empower women, which was the beginning of my career as an entrepreneur. I had trained, specifically in leadership development, I had trained $1 million producers. That rolled over into empowering women, becoming certified as a coach. And then from there, coaching executives. And it really just unfolded from there. But that really was the beginning of the business journey.
Wow. Wow. Well, that definitely is a massive, massive wake up call and a blessing for all the women that you have helped and empowered. So tell me about Diverse and Engaged and the vision behind your company.
Yeah. So, well, Diverse and Engage, we like to say at Diverse and Engage, we speak 3 languages: leadership development, workplace culture, and diversity and inclusion. And so our clients, they essentially, they contact us when they are having a challenge attracting, engaging, or retaining either diverse workplace culture, or a diverse pop. A diverse population of people, whether it's workforce or whether it's suppliers. We get the call. We right now have impact across 23 countries. Our top clients, and thanks to the WBENC space, are Fortune 10 for tech, CPG, and financial services. And so that's kind of where we are now, but we didn't start there. You heard me say I started as an executive coach, and I evolved the brand into what it is today. Like I said, impacting over 23 countries, specifically doing global diversity and inclusion work. And I'll say this, and I'll take a pause here. Being a woman in business, and particularly a Black woman, it's hard. It's hard for all of us women in business, but particularly as a Black woman. But I will say, in the last year, we've had the most significant growth as a result of the civil unrest, as a result of the diversity tipping point. And our biggest, I think, win season, we've been featured literally Forbes, Fortune, CNBC. In fact, when CNBC ran their story on the 1 year mark of when George Floyd was murdered, we contributed. I contributed. They asked, Dee, what do you say to corporations today, and give us insight on where we are? So that's kind of the journey from Wall Street to executive coach to running a boutique organization, literally with Fortune 10 across 23 countries, and also because of WBENC.
Yes. Wow. Well, it's beyond time that this is finally happening. And, that the exposure is so much bigger now, and the need, the need's been there for a long time, but now obviously on the forefront. And so, if there was ever a time that businesses need your support in diversity and inclusion, it is now. And so what do you feel that business leaders, CEOs are asking for? I mean, what are they asking for in the way of support in diversity? How are you supporting them?
Yeah, so they're asking for support in terms of aligning their corporate culture with their strategy. They've got big vision, big goals, big ideas, but they're trying to right size the corporate culture, knowing that there's a huge challenge right now in corporate culture, in that, and you probably know this, Allison, because you do the work. The largest US emerging market right now, it's people of color. It is the diverse market. And so, so we find, again, a lot of CEOs are trying to resolve the corporate culture disconnect. They're trying to resolve the war on talent. They're trying to address the fact that, they can't find top talent or, individuals with skills that can't be replaced by machines, right? And so that's what they're looking for. They've got diversity fatigue. They're looking for measurable results in regard to diversity and inclusion. And so that's some of what they are looking for. In addition to the business, they're in business to make money.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, so they really want to, have that diverse culture. And at the same time, they're looking at their bottom line and so forth. So all of those things have to be taken into account.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah. And you know what? This is, I should say this. And they're looking for, Allison, you want to know what they're looking for? How to not be the next diversity fail headline. I'll say it again. How to not become the next diversity fail headline in the news. They don't want to be the big bank CEO who says we can't find people of color. They don't want to be the next retail brand that puts out a marketing campaign that is completely, diverse washed. They don't want to be there.
Right. Right. And so how are you helping them to get beyond this?
Yeah, so it's again addressing not just culture, but addressing systemic barriers. So that's how we advise, but not all companies are prepared and ready to address systemic barriers of racism. They're not, and we don't force it. They have to first. What we do is we help them to identify where they are along the diversity continuum. Second, we help them to get a real, I'm going to say, a comprehensive assessment, both qualitative and quantitative, on where the organization not only has bias, but where they have blinders. And we do, we design strategy based on who is the organization's target. We design strategy based on shareholders, stakeholders, and also lawmakers. Lawmakers are calling corporate CEOs to now testify before Congress on what are you doing with regard to creating a psychologically safe place for all people, for us as women.
Oh my
Allison,
gosh, I love that.
I
did not know that.
Yes, it's yeah. For us as women, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. So, and then not just for us as women, right? All women, but also women of color, not just people of color, people with other visible and invisible disabilities, whether you are a veteran, whether you are managing a physical disability, whether you are able-bodied, disabled, whether you are LGBTQ, same gender, sex loving people.
Yes. Yes. Equality for all. And so I love that. I love that because there are good people out there. I remember my dad was an entrepreneur. He had a big clothing chain. And when the last time I actually saw him, he loved talking about business, Dee, like to the very end. That's really how we communicated. And he, I said, what do you say, Dad, to the people that say, I can't find good help out there? Because, a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't believe that's true. There are good people everywhere.
That's right.
And he said, you have to have patience and you have to train them well.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like our last conversation. You can tell like his life was about business.
Yeah.
But I love what you are up to. And so can you elaborate what you feel is the most important thing for business owners to know about diversity and inclusion in today's marketplace and workplace? especially, and I'm coming to you as a white woman, like I really want to understand, and for those here, we want this diversity in the business world. But what is it that we need to know that we just don't?
Yeah, there's so much that I could say, in terms of what is the need to know. But I think if I'm talking to business owners, I'm going to share from a business perspective. In
Okay.
order to stay relevant, you need diversity. In order to stay relevant as a business and not be the blockbuster, right? I'm going to go there versus I could have this conversation from a different lens if we were
Yes.
talking to a different group of people. But if you are a business owner and you want to still have a business and be relevant into the future, I know you do this work in terms of scaling it. But this is, I think, the place to anchor. How is it that you stay relevant if you do not have cognitive diversity on your team? Cognitive diversity, diversity of thought comes by a diversity of people. How is it will you stay relevant if you don't know how to speak the language of your customers and your consumers, and you're only going to know that based on your talent? How is it that you will continue to grow market share, and if your potential target, the largest domestic US emerging market, is people of color by 50, it's 51%. And let me be specific, it's the 18 to 35 market that we're talking about.
Okay.
The largest opportunity that you have to grow and to scale your business happens to be the emerging market, happens to be people of color. And so that would be the one thing that I would say if you want to stay relevant. You're relevant now, your business is big now, your business is booming now, you've got market share now. But we're talking about right now. But the work that you do with scale it, a scalable model, long term, if it does not include, in fact, an executive at Nielsen says this: if your business does not have a diversity strategy, you don't have a growth strategy. And so that's where we are. And that would be the one thing that I would say to business owners, because we are about business and we want to stay relevant. We want to grow our business. We want to scale our business, but our bias and our blind spot may be that we live in a place that is not diverse. And so we don't have anything to worry about now. It may be that 51% emerging market is not our market, but it's right now. And so does that make sense, Allison?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. And it has been a priority for me as a CEO for a long time, and in the past and now. And I just I really appreciate the honesty. I mean, sometimes it's just being able to get the answers, you have to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems so obvious, but for some people it's not.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And what a high percentage that is. And when you're scaling, you need to build a team managed company. And that means a workplace of collaboration. And what I learned as a CEO for so many years is like, the smart thing to do is to tap into your team and their brains and their creativity. And so you're missing out so much if you're not tapping into.
Yeah. Even on my team, I just have such respect for all people, but particularly Gen Y is genius. That's where your next product is coming from. That's where your research is coming from. That's where you keep your hand on the pulse of what's next, not what's now. And so I have such value for the insights and the cognitive diversity of Gen Y contributing to our businesses. I mean, because we're in similar spaces, Allison, as women, and probably we're in the same peer group. So you notice now my conversation is more about the diversity of Gen Y and not necessarily just race and ethnic diversity or able disabled, but I'm really talking about diversity in youth right now. And I think for the audience here at WBENC, because we do have these conversations about how, as a small business, then do you diversify or do you need to? And I'm somewhat guarded and protective of us, right? So if we're growing a small business, well, how is it that we need to carve out or to hold space for diversity if we're already a small team? And, we are always advising, even as fractional CDOs, fractional chief diversity officers, there are other ways to diversify. And you want to be mindful of it, because in the WBENC space, in the supplier diversity space, to my white sister girlfriends, I'm sharing, corporate is going to want to see your diversity strategy. When you go for these contracts, they want to see what's your diversity strategy. And there are other ways to do that without disrupting your headcount or your FTEs. Do you need to just do that? No, there are other ways. But I think this is the greatest opportunity now.
Yeah. You know what? That is such a great point, as they're looking to build their suppliers. And that's a priority for them. It's going to be who they work with too. Thank you for bringing that up. So now you have an amazing team, and what do you feel? It is one of the areas, diversity or not, this is because we're talking about people. And as businesses grow and scale, it's one of the things that I hear all the time of just, leadership, their own struggles. And so what do you feel is the secret to creating a strong team and, strong company culture?
Yeah, I think key to creating a strong team and strong culture is we have to unlearn some things, and that is unlearning how to hire people who we're comfortable with, and hiring our in-group and hiring for culture fit. That is outdated. It's the old way of doing things. And that's where, I would say for us WBEs who are plugged in right now, as well as the corporate members right now, is step away from culture fit. And so I'm always recommending that you identify a tool, a resource, an assessment. In our space for CEOs, in fact, I just did this with one of the RPOs, is there are tools like Colby, a Colby A assessment that allows you to hire for right fit based on who you are as a CEO. We're certified in Colby, which is why I got certified because
Colby too. We do Colby.
You already know.
Yeah, no, we do. In fact, some of our team is getting certified with Colby in a few weeks, just because of everything that you're saying.
That's it.
Great.
So see, that's a way, and it is a standard, I would say, benchmark for CEOs and or small businesses, different from the corporate side, so where they may use a Gallup or a predictive index, or let's see, an MBTI, a DISC. But for our space, Colby makes sense because it's predictive, it's valid, it's the most valid because it deals with the third part of the mind, which is unchanging, right? And so that is how then you move from where you are now as a CEO and look at hiring differently, onboarding differently, and changing culture. So that's one thing that you can do. And then another is certainly development opportunities for the team, but not just classroom training. Companies get so caught up in classroom classroom training, they don't work because there's no application. There's no experience with said diverse pop, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's racial and ethnic diversity. And so that's another way to really look at how do you shift culture, making sure your people, Allison, aren't a liability. Because the moment somebody on your team, Allison, does not know how to engage with someone from a diverse background, let's say even with somebody like myself, becomes a liability. And how we can do better is just make sure we equip our team with something, right? And we're seeing even a shift there, even in this WBENC space, of more investing in making sure your team has the insight, the knowledge, the training on bias, blinders, cultural competency, allyship. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's interesting that you say that because it's always been hire for culture fit, hire for culture fit. And I think in the way I was looked at it was more like hire for value fit, right? Because we have all different cultures amongst your
Yep.
culture, but hire more for values. So if it's like integrity or, kindness,
Yeah.
whatever those things are. But I really like what you're saying is it's more about the fit and, really assessing them as human beings on a deeper level there.
Yeah. And I'll say this, Allison, really quick, funny story. For when you hire for culture fit, I once fired myself. I fired Dee Marshall. And the short story goes, the company is really growing, but there was one project that was lagging, and Dee Marshall was responsible for the project. And once I woke up, I said, she's fired, sent an email to my entire team. DC Marshall is no longer with the firm in this capacity. And I mean, seriously, I did this. And then I remember rewriting the job description on my way to my office. I sent it out. And by the end of the day, I had a few people who wanted the job. I said, you could have it. I knew them. I knew their skill set. I knew their background. And then after I offered the job, I said, hold, I need you to take an assessment. And I gave her Colby. And here's why. And here's the connection for every CEO and every leader and every people leader right now. I needed a compliment. I needed her to have the skill set that Dee Marshall didn't. Dee Marshall is a Kobe. She's a long, quick start. I'm a long, quick start. In fact, you'll love this. Allison, look at this. This is my Kobe.
Oh my gosh.
Do you see this?
Yes.
So Dee Marshall is a long, quick start. I go. Dee is a short follow through. She doesn't follow through. So the person to backfill, I need her to be a long follow through. So Colby is predictive for success. You can assemble your team around who you need and what you need to accomplish and get out of, oh, that's a culture fit. Even it might be, she had my values, Allison. I knew her.
Okay.
I said, I need her to be a follow through. And then I prayed, oh my God, I hope she's a follow through, because I'm going to hire her if she's a follow through, because on this project, it requires follow through. And as a CEO, we need to have greater insight than the people whom we hire. They may not know. They're going to talk to you about what they can do. You're going to see it on their resume. You're going to know that they can do it. But we want to hire based on the third part of the mind, which is how you're naturally wired.
Yes, I love that. And I so get it because, and a lot of business owners, CEOs, they're the visionary type. They're the idea person. They're not necessarily the follow through. So I can totally relate to that, but that's super powerful. And it's so helpful to know this stuff up front than being frustrated months down the road.
That's right. That's right.
So now you're a certified coach. You've been an advisor to very influential people. Where do you feel business leaders struggle the most? when they're hitting that wall or that their ceiling?
Yeah, so you know what, there's a few things, but I think the place where I see the ceiling, and we're talking about that even within the WeBank space today, even with the folks who co-lead on the forum, it's people, it's human resources is one area, is one of the top areas where I hear the biggest challenges with your team and your resource. You've got big vision, but having the right team or the team to execute, to carry the ball is one. I think the second is leaders developing our own investment in ourselves and developing ourselves is a big one. And I know you see this because, again, I follow Scale It, but us and our ability to invest in ourselves in two areas, largely CEO mindset is big. I think that's a big gap. Yeah, I think that's a really big gap. And then working on our business versus in our business. When WeBank launched their Women of Color initiative a few years ago, I had the pleasure, I think for the first year and a half, of being the resource, and providing some training on developing your A team. And I think it was growing your business, scaling your business. And it was this session that I did on working on your business versus in. And we're often too much in the business. We have no routine or no discipline with regard to the time that we are working on versus in. And I think it's really challenging. So that's where I'm seeing I think we hit a wall there, not investing in ourselves in, and I know you didn't tell me to say this, Allison, I promise if you all are listening, she did not, but I invest. And so investing in programs like Scale It, I'm always in a program. I'm in a program now. I write a big check and it's okay. And even though women here, WBEs, we can afford it, it's just sometimes that disconnect of being constantly connected to a community. So so there you go.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because I've had a mentor since my early years in business, and I've invested millions at this point in my own personal and business growth, and continue to this day, almost 40 years in business. I'm, like you, I'm a pretty smart cookie, but when you're so close to your business, Dee, like there's things right in front of you that you don't see. And you're just going to grow so much faster. It doesn't have to be so hard, when you can get the help. And I love what you said, working on the business instead of in it. And I think, we hear all the time when business owners say, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. And the reason they don't have time is that because they are stuck in the weeds of their business. Mm-hmm. And when you do take the time to, go to a conference or, a virtual conference with WeBank or, we lead events all the time. The trainings you do with your clients, it actually gives you your time back.
Yep.
Because you find that one solution that can move you so much further than just, running in place in your business, just checking off that to-do list. Yeah. So that's really important. And I think that makes all the difference and makes life so much easier. So speaking of that, how have you utilized your WeBank certification as support for your business growth? And of course, you're on the forum and very involved. So I'm sure it's several ways.
Yeah, I mean, how I've leveraged it, I think I've just shown up. I'm going to say, if I had to sum it up, I've shown up. I fully, I play full out wherever I'm invested. So if I'm invested in the certification and in this community, in fact, this is part of my biz dev. I'm attached to a community. And so I know for every conference, every event that is reasonable, I'm going to show up. And I am going to serve and give and be open. And I'm not going to give up. I'm going to play the long game. My mastermind buddies, they know I say all the time. I go, look, I'm playing the long game here. I watch the Nina Vaca, the Anna Ramakumarans, and the Avis Yates, and Janice Bryant Howroyd. They're still here. Janice is, I mean, she's 20 something and she's still in the game.
Yes. I've interviewed her a few times. Incredible woman.
Right. So I think, Allison, yeah, if I had to sum it up, like what's the one thing and how I have been able to leverage it, it's been showing up, because then that connects to, now the corporate members know me because I'm consistent in showing up, right? And then, and I'm consistent in serving. I'm consistent in making connections. I have strategically made connections with my RPO and a major brand where they couldn't get connected. And so I was connected to the corporate member, and I said, hey, I can make the connection. And so showing up it has helped all of that happen, becoming known, becoming visible. And when there has been an opportunity, my name has shown up, Diverse and Engaged. As soon as the diversity conversation showed up, everybody, or I would say, I know my name is in the hat there. I know, WBENC knows me because I've invested time in building relationships. So I would say showing up, playing full out. And now I do business with a lot of people. I've got a lot of share here in the diversity space. I mean, you heard me share corporate members here who are on the board at WBENC. They've known my company, even the growth of the company. It's helped to have WBENC as a client. And I think, that was a big win, being able to deliver and then having people trust that her company is going to deliver.
Oh yeah, that's big. That's big too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, because I don't think we've really talked about this on the show much. I mean, everyone gets so much out of WBENC and they absolutely love it. But the interesting thing is that sometimes, in our community, Pinnacle Global Network, we have about 250 business owners that we mentor, and probably 70% of them are women. And quite a few of them are certified. And we've really promoted this over the years, but sometimes we'll hear, I joined and I'm really not getting anything out of it. And then I'm like, well, how many events are you participating in? How much are you giving of your time? And what I find is not much at all. And it really comes back to, how you show up. And you're going to get back what you put into it. So just getting certified is not like the end all panacea. You actually need to work it, but it's so rewarding because of the relationships.
It is.
Right?
It is, Allison, from the show up. If I could just say, what's the ROI? And you're right, it's consistent. This year, I've been in the room of a few, virtual room. There was no more than 10 people, and it's with a major bank. And there's only a few of us. So that's what I mean by just show up at the event. I've been featured. I made this year top WBE CEOs. I was named by We USA. Well, how did you get that, Dee? Well, Kristen Snyder over there, she knows of me, follows my work. Why? Because I've shown up over the years. Dee, I'm thinking about all of the other things. So how did I get these Fortune 10? It's because at every WBENC conference, I have my wish list. I'd go around and these folks know me. So that converts. So it converts from business. It converts to visibility. We've scored major media this year from literally every major business pub, from Forbes to Fortune. I was just notified. I made Entrepreneur Top Female Founders, Top 100. Even if I think about, Allison, our friend Patty, how did I get to the WBENC Forum? And it's not a brag, but it is what we call receipts, right? How does the organization, how does WBENC and the network convert? How did I get to WBENC Forum? Showing up. I meet Patty, and Patty nudges and some other folks. Dee, you'd be great for leadership on the forum. Well, Dee, how did you get to the forum? Probably somebody like Holly Saltz. Sads, she owns a printing firm here. She's a New York girl. And she says, Dee, you should join the forum. How do I get to the forum? Oh, well, do you know Marsha? And I know Marsha. Why? Because I show up. So I think, again, if we had to nail it down to what is the thing, right? Because people like a lot of practical things of, okay, but what exactly? Or can you connect me to this person, that person? No, just show up. You're going to get the business because you're going to get the visibility. You're going to get the visibility because you'll have the relationship, because you have the visibility, and because you have sewn into the network. Pam, even me working with WBENC, it's because Pam Eason, last year, she sends an email, yes, Dee, I have something for you. Now, I don't hear from her for weeks, but it's because she's busy. And sure enough, when she gets me on the phone, she has something. But why, Allison? How does the president of WBENC know? Because I just showed up over the years consistently.
Yes. And the long game, Dee, like you said earlier, I think when people come and they're like, well, I didn't get anything out of that meeting. I didn't get a business deal. It's like, oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So yeah, it really is powerful. I don't know an organization like this that is so invested, everybody across the board. And so besides that fantastic advice, and if you are listening and you're not certified yet, or you haven't been participating, to the level that you could, highly recommend that you lean in more.
Yeah.
But what other advice would you give to women entrepreneurs as we're kind of wrapping this amazing conversation up, that maybe have hit a wall, or maybe they're having fear come up, which, that's normal in their business journey? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I think two thoughts when I think about hitting a wall. It's always connecting. So connecting, who else can you connect to very naturally? So if you've shown up at a program of WBENC, it's who else is in the chat that you could perhaps connect to? Because I think we work best, women, when we connect to a community, not just asking a question or a one-off, but connecting to other people. I would say other advancing, we call them advancing entrepreneurs, other advancing CEOs, for the support to build a relationship, and then you have community. That's how I have a mastermind. And so I think it's when you've hit a wall that, but then my second, and probably the thing that has helped me most, is invest. I invested in a program to show me the way. And so in addition to WBENC, I will say, and I've shared receipts for the last few years of a program every year, I've written a check to another program where I have community. Because here's the thing, Allison, WBENC gives you access to market, right? As well as a network. But in terms of development, in terms of my blind spot, in terms of what I don't know about business, in terms of what I don't know about responding to this RFP, in terms of what I don't know about a scalable model, I need a development community and not just a network and access. So for anybody who's hit a wall, there's so much to do and you can do it, but you have to invest in a community. And when I say invest, I don't mean just writing a check. I mean, then show up. Yes. Show up for the mastermind. If there's an opportunity to be live with your coach, with your advisory board, do that. And that is going to, I guarantee you, get you out of the valley. It's going to move you beyond the wall. You're going to be able to scale the wall when you invest in your business, invest in yourself. And I've seen it. It's worked for me.
Yeah.
I've had my wall.
So true. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, we all need it. I say it's like cutting a check for speed.
Yep.
Or taking the toll road, because there's 1,000 ways to get to your goal, but you can zigzag for years, and so getting that support and having the community with people that get you and understand, because it can be a lonely journey. Being a business owner, it's so important. And I know that's why you're so committed to the work that you do in helping business leaders to grow. And the same thing with us in Pinnacle Global Network. That's just, it's so heartwarming to see these business owners grow and thrive and, and asking for the support. So it's not uncommon to see a business owner stuck for 10, 20 years. And then they do go out and get the support. And then all of a sudden within 2-3 years, there's massive growth. So, but, all right. So what's next for you, Dee? Like, you've gotten a lot of press this year. You have obviously been in demand. Is there anything exciting for you as, we're kind of moving, things are beginning to open up in the world, still in a little bit of a strange time here with COVID, but what are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about our scaling. We've got strategy for two I'm going to say two really big, not ideas, but plans to scale the company so that, so that we can remain relevant. Right. And so that's what's next and what I'm most excited about. One of our scale models that we really birthed this year in working with WBE and CEOs is our fractional chief diversity officers to help women businesses secure these contracts because they've got that gap and blind spot. So I always say to my WG are my white girlfriends versus my BGs are my black girlfriends. So my WG girlfriends, I've said, look, here's the strategy, here's the game. But that is one of our models that we really built out this year to scale on supporting other business owners on how do you diversify, how do you tap in to the largest emerging market, and how is it that you need to restructure your company and your strategy so that when you're going after these contracts, that you're not caught with the bias or a blind spot. Even if you're a woman, they're now looking for race and ethnicity. So that's what I'm most excited about. And I'm excited about this long game.
I love it, Dee. I mean, you're so innovative and then also really following the demand and the need, and you're there. So I think that's an exciting scale in so many ways, will really make a big difference in the world and so many people's lives. So thank you so much for being on Women Who Own It. This is such an incredible conversation. And if you've enjoyed this, please share this interview with as many women business leaders as you can. And if you haven't subscribed, do so and write a review. We would absolutely appreciate that. So Dee, thank you so much for being with us today. And for those of you moving on to the next thing, get out there, elevate yourself because you are worth it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you,
on
Allison.
Women Who Own It. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.